On the road with the men who have the staying power on one of cycling's great stage races.
Well, we're looking here back at side right before we pick up the live story for you today. What's happened so far in the Tour of Romandía. On the first day, Rick Verbrugge went on to win the time trial, but by day two, the heavens opened and it chucked it down. It's been like that virtually ever since. As the riders are going in on this first stage, then you can see now one of the problems of wet conditions. Down went one of the riders. He took out Zuller there in the yellow, just coming down as well. But the main contenders for the sprint were just out in front, and so it was that they came through there with the rider for the Acqua Sapone team, that's Cipollini's team, Lombardi. Norman's lead-out man was given the opportunity here to get a stage victory in his own right. That's it then. First blood to Lombardi. Cipollini not riding the Tour of Romandía because he got a touch of the flu. Who can blame him when the conditions got steadily worse? Well, Verbrugge, after that time trial, kept the yellow jersey. He was in the main bunch, or what was left of it, and so he's in yellow again for the next day. And again, the weather conditions were pretty grotty, as you can see here too as well. And getting toward the bottom of the climb, there's a climb which is around about, just under 5 kilometres. It was to the finish, 2.5 kilometres up and 2.5 kilometres on the flat. And this is where he took off. His Tacconi Sport team had done a great job controlling the race, and he launched himself forward, and off he went to take the stage victory and the yellow jersey. David Miller had been in the action earlier on. He'd been in the break trying to get up to the front, but he couldn't make it, so we moved on then to stage 3. Again, it's Lombardi on this particular occasion, thundering in. Dave was back in the main pack, not far from the action at the front, but sensibly staying out of the hurly-burly as Lombardi yet again thundered across the line. Just ahead of Ruskis on the left-hand side, and young Hunter from South Africa, hoping, I think, that perhaps the sun might shine one day. 13 kilometres to go, and this has got to be, I suppose, except for time trials, one of the shortest stages in the annals of the Tour of Romandía, which dates back to 1947. Today, just 86 kilometres of racing. The two mountain climbs that were scheduled originally for today's stage have been taken off the agenda, and they came straight out from the start at Sierre, delayed start this morning, and down the valley before moving in to the finish, which we're going to bring you on your screens now. Live it is, and thank goodness our helicopters have been able to fly in this particular part, and the riders here splashing through the rain. You may say, so what? Well, the reason we couldn't go over the first two climbs is it's snowing up there, and 5 kilometres of snow on both the climbs. That's the last 5 kilometres of riding up, that's about halfway up the climbs, was snow. And in fact, down the valley they've been riding through slush, and it's been terrible conditions. You see here the Tacconi Sport team looking after the yellow jersey of the overall leader. Frigo's still there. Well, Frigo, if my Italian is right, stands for fridge, and so in conditions like this, with still 12 kilometres to go, I suspect that Frigo is the appropriate name to have. And it did cross my mind as like one of those thoughts for today. When you get up in the morning, you're just getting through the day, you think, oh my goodness, what an awful day it's going to be. But just bear in mind this thought. Dear God, so far today I've done all right. I haven't gossiped, I haven't lost my temper, I haven't lied or cheated, I haven't been grumpy, greedy, nasty, selfish or overindulgent. I'm very thankful for that. But in a few minutes I'm going to be out of bed. From then on, I'm probably going to need your help. Well, certainly help needed today. The riders didn't want to start. They finally got on their bikes when they found they weren't going up the climb through the snow, and so it looks like, I won't say a ceremonial running towards the finish here today, but the man in yellow has got to watch it. So I'll give you a quick rundown on the general classification coming into the stage. You saw yesterday's finish briefly on your screen then, when Lombardi won the sprint ahead of Ruskis and Hunter into third spot. And the interesting thing was that Frigo in the yellow jersey there was in 10th spot, and there was just a little group of 11 riders that came across the line 5 seconds ahead of another group, which included Cadel Evans, did a great ride, who finished 18th, and Rick Verbrugge, the early leader. So he dropped another 5 seconds, did Rick Verbrugge, because crafty old Frigo jumped in the wheels and managed to just get ahead of the pack when they came in there, and the split gave him a few more seconds advantage. Overall, David Miller yesterday finished some 34 seconds down, within spitting distance of the sprint, but didn't take part. It's a sensible chap, because on the overall classification he's down in 64th spot at the moment. 3 minutes 24 seconds is David Miller, keeping his powder dry, if you can use that expression, on a day like today, for the time trial tomorrow, which is about 18 kilometres, and could well suit David, who is said to be, from the conversation I've had with his helpers, in very good condition indeed, and enjoying his return to racing after his glandular fever, so-called kissing disease. Right, perhaps it's to do with when you get the rostrum there with the bouquet of flowers. Anyway, David is in 64th spot, 3 minutes 24 seconds down, and the overall situation is, you can see on your screen, the work being done by the Tacono Sport squad to look after the overall race leader. That is Dario Frigo. Again, there are 10 seconds bonus for the first man over the line, and then we've got 10, 6 and 4 all the way down. So Frigo leads on the general classification at the moment. He has a lead of some 16 seconds over Alexander Moos of the Hoos. Gosh, that's a long time ago, wasn't it? Hootsman, that was the record. My goodness, showing my age again. Anyway, Alexander Moos is in second spot, 16 seconds back. Verbrugge is in third at 18 seconds. Gasparoni fourth at 19. Mazzoloni, his teammate, at 19 seconds, is fifth. Soldier on, and you have to take your hats off or whatever you wear when it's rather cold like this, as well as balaclava helmets, because conditions, you can see, pretty horrible. 9 kilometres to go, it's just over 5 miles. Hovering on the left-hand side is the yellow jersey, not the yellow jersey of the leader at the moment. They're just lying in second spot, which you can see on the screen, Frigo. Just behind him with the black armbands and that, or black arm warmers, is Alex Zuller, who's come into quite a spirited performance so far in this race, and we have to recognise that he's determined to do what he can for his coast team. But unfortunately, they haven't been selected for the Tour de France. Much of that anon, and we did talk at great length about it yesterday. On the left-hand side too, you can see the Calmi riders coming up here too. In fact, no, I think that's Phonak there in the green and yellow. I get a bit confused at times, but the Calmi riders, who are in the Tour de France, but one can hope that they're funds will last out till then, because we are informed through a good source that the Calmi riders have not been paid for the last 2 months, and the rumours flying round that the Calmi organisation have been looking for some help in keeping the team, and I think probably their company still going. They're in the shoe business, and they're the longest serving sponsor, maybe over 20 years now, in cycle racing, and they are having a few problems, the shoe manufacturer, in supporting their team. And the riders, I say, haven't been paid, and I think that Valencia might come in to help them as best they can do. Let's hope they do, because the Spaniards always enliven the Tour de France with their aggressive riding in the mountains. There's never been one of the teams that can pay the biggest money for the riders, but certainly they've enlivened the Tour in past years. Well, you can see now it's quite good conditions at the finish, and if the camera goes round to the commentary point, it is, yes, it is very cold indeed, and this is the time when you wish you were probably out there with Scott at the Antarctic or something, because it's just been like, it's been worse than this, by the way, further down the road when we had to reroute the race so that they couldn't go over the top of the climbs because of the terrible conditions. Well, there's some born every day, by the way. A tourist here on his way round, complete. There's a panniers at the front, by the way. There's not motorised assistance, and finding some repairs to the wet weather equipment. And unfortunately, by the way, the cars can get up here. I remember when we had to cancel one stage in the Tour de France when we couldn't go over the top of the mountains, that the people had camped out overnight, got in their camper vans and tried to get onto the road once the bulldozer had gone through and snowplows had moved the snow out of the way for the riders to go over in team vehicles, and they went over the top with the coach and everything else. Then suddenly all the fans tried to follow them in their camper vans and brought the snow onto the side of the road, and they were sliding downwards and completely blocked the. And also now we're looking at his victory in the Tour of Romandie this year. So he got the yellow jersey there, but let's look back again to him in the Giro d'Italia last year when he got up there and got the pink jersey. His main opponent could be Casagrande then. We saw him just there on the Giro de Trentino, winning in 2002. Casagrande had the pink jersey when we were going into that stage up to Sestriere, when in the time trial stage Casagrande completely blew it. After 10 kilometers he lost so much time. This man you see on your screen here, Garzelli, coming through in the yellow jersey, was going to swap the yellow jersey for the pink at the end of that particular stage. So a real big turnout then as far as Mercatonuna was concerned. Garzelli on that occasion riding for Pantani's team, and he went on then to win it. But now we're looking also at the man from the victory before. In a moment we come back from they go backwards and forwards. It's so quick I can't name them for you, because also apart from Garzelli getting it, we're now looking at this man Simoni, who won in 2001. So looking back at Garzelli, then at Simoni, completely decorated here with the hairstyle, riding on in. He had that enormous crash which we brought you on Eurosport a few weeks ago, but I understand his knee's back okay. He's been racing today and again racing tomorrow, so Simoni could be in form for May the 11th and then afterwards, which by the way starts in Holland. But this man may not be at the start. There's a big cloud hanging over Pantani, but he's a real character. You never know, he might still be with us. And our little clip, by the way, is not showing you, as we look back here at Pantani, not going to show you anything about Cipollini. He's not been put in it for some reason, but watch the early stage on Eurosport. We'll be up there starting in Holland, moving our way through Belgium and so on, and I think we might see Mr. Cipollini at the front going like stink. We had a look there at Pantani at the back on the Flèche Wallonne when he got absolutely nowhere. Here is his team now on the Flèche Wallonne. So can he come back? Can he now do what he did in 98 when he just demolished everybody? Well, we'll have to wait and see from May 11th onwards. Front end of the pack, and Honcha, now there's an interesting bloke, by the way. Zulla, well, we've seen him already. This is not the order in which they're riding. This is just picking the order out in terms of the numbers that they have on their backs, because we saw Zulla lying back there in third spot at the moment. We're quite expecting to see Moose up there too as well, because riding for the Phonak team, he's the man looking after his protected position in second spot, 16 seconds down this morning on Frigo. But when I mentioned Onchar just then, they've got to watch out for this character, because extremely good time trials he is too. He's lying 8th overall in general classification, 26 seconds down. And if he comes up with that little group there and stays very close to them, then that'll be down to the time trial tomorrow to sort the thing out. So in the time trial tomorrow, we will get an opportunity of seeing who's going to win the thing, but also who's going to be the winner overall on the race. And my money certainly would go for people like Onchar, maybe Zulla, and maybe David Miller in the time trial. And we'll be down, by the way, tomorrow in Lausanne. So we won't be up here at the top, thank goodness you might say. We should be able to bring you the time trial tomorrow on Eurosport, and that will be at minute intervals, and I think 2 minutes for the last group of rides to go through. So you'll be able to see that on Eurosport, and providing these numb riders up the action then, as this certainly is a day for Yetis, mountain goats, Scott the Antarctic, and anybody who understands what it's like to take part under these horrible conditions. Anybody in the main field used to cyclo-cross riding would be perhaps at home in these conditions, but for many of these very fit athletes who put their season round, maybe like the Tour of Italy starting in just 1 week's time, you imagine the training they've been doing. They had just a very short space of time when they decided to get themselves back in fitness, starting in December and January and February, training, moving out to sunshine, going off to Malaysia, going off down to the Tour Down Under, to Tour Langkawi, going off to ride in South Africa, going off to ride in Qatar, going anywhere where the sun shines, and then you start the season proper. And my goodness, we had a pretty grotty, miserable, wet day for the Paris-Roubaix, but that's not the sort of course for rides we see today. That the specialists, when it comes to stage racing, were looking for a chance to ride in the Tour of Romandie, which is, when we brought it for in recent years, it's been jolly good conditions too as well. But right now, you can see it is really the sort of weather in which you wouldn't send a dog out on a day like this. So Perez went away, and we can now see here, there is the one rider we just seen going off the front there, near the front, was the overall leader Frigo, and in this group we know he's certainly there. Another man in that group at the moment, Honchart, number 14, we've got him there too from Fassa Bartolo. Another man in there is Leipheimer from Rabobank in the orange and the white and the blue. Good little climber, way down on the overall classification, no chance for him to cause big troubles. That man Perez, who's gone off down the road, he, by the way, at the moment is 33 seconds down. The Kelme rider, 33 seconds down, trying to get the stage victory today to try and move himself up on the general classification. 10 seconds of bonus will be there for the first man on the line. Perez was 33 seconds down on the general classification this morning. They're getting him back now, and they pulled him back now. So Perez, in fact, no, they haven't. He's still there, hidden amongst the cars, hidden amongst the motorcycle. This man knows it could be the day. And you imagine the rider from Kelme here, all the way from Spain, where the sun normally shines and where you may be watching the motorcycling in glorious weather conditions. This Spanish rider here now going away after front. Then Perez 33 seconds down this morning on general class. Vic Verbrugge here, a Belgian who undoubtedly knows what it's like to race on these conditions. He's going to, the Belgians are hard men. He's trying to get up there. Vic Verbrugge this morning into the classification, 18 seconds down. There's 10 seconds bonus, the first man on the line, but can he stay away then? And what's going to happen to the yellow jersey? 11 seconds to our leader, still close to call. Well, you have to take your hat off, or your sou'wester, or whatever it is you're wearing on your head at the moment, for these riders here. These are professionals. They earn their money riding bicycles, and on these diabolical conditions, rain hasn't stopped play. This is not cricket, this is cycling, this is a hard man's sport. Desperately cold. Imagine all that cold, wet water coming up off the back wheel into your saddle, into your chamois leather, in your shorts. It's soggy, it's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. Up into your eyes, the muck comes off the front wheel, bringing up grit in there. You'll see them at the finish there. They'll have red in their eyes from the grit up into their eyes, from the wind coming at them too as well. Amazing. Well, just seeing some of the numbers coming up, and I'm waiting to hear if Gasparoni's in there. 156, Frangieri's made it. 167, Mark Striel. Just couldn't hear whether David Miller's in there. Probably quite sensibly, he's going to take it easy today and then wait for the time trial tomorrow. He's not in contention for the overall honours. By the way, you can get onto his website on this coming Friday. It's all been renovated, refurbished, and it'll be www.itsmillertime.com, and you'll be able to hear David's thoughts about the racing yet to come. So the pink and black colours of the Telecom team here. The news still that Ulrich won't be riding the Tour of Italy. His knee is not well. And the last thing we heard, he lost his driving licence too after a slight comeuppance in a motor car yesterday. That's Ebersol, by the way, Nicky Ebersol of the Coast team, just soldering his way up here as well towards the top of the finish. One of the riders from Gerolsteiner. Well, they they bottle fizzy water, and certainly on the occasion today when this lot thaws, there'll be plenty of it going down into the rivers and then off into lakes roundabouts here. So the bedraggled riders still going up here. Verbrugge still pressing on, hoping to go and get himself some advantage out of this one. I'm sorry, I've lost track of the sound. In fact, we seem to have lost our information from back there in the race too as well. Psycho in the red jerseys coming up here too. Well, their time will come, I'm sure, in the Tour of Italy, which we're bringing you next week. We've seen these conditions in the Tour of Italy, by the way, in the past, up in the mountains. I don't think we'll get the snow like this in Holland when we start the race. And here, this, I'm sure, looking back through here, is still our leader. And is it, or is it not? No. Please, please, can we get something off our headphones? Or please, please, will you put the camera down so we pick the number up, because we know who we're looking for. Well, I don't think we're going to worry about him sitting in there at the moment. This is towards the back end of what's left of the main group. And yes, still Kelme struggling to stay with it. Well, until more comes over the headphones, I'm just going to sit here, and I hope you're going to do the same. Admire the tenacity. I know they get paid for it. In fact, the Kelme lad here on the right-hand side hasn't been paid for 2 months. They're still in there, riding their bikes on these conditions. Heck, you've seen them, they fall, they crash, they go down mountains, they get picked up, they get back on the bike, they go next day covered in bandages, they get there with all sorts of injuries when they ride these races, they still get back on their bikes. They go through sometimes the sun when it's boiling hot, when it's 40 degrees, cooking hot it can be sometimes, and then days you get like today. What a way to earn a living. But you have to love bike racing. You have to start out. Nobody says, I'm going to be a bike racer like you might be a brain surgeon or a train driver or want to be a Formula One driver. This is hard man's sport. You have to love cycling. And when it's all over and done with, you'll go out next week, do a bit of training, and you think, hey, in the end, that was fun. Believe you me, it can. When you finally recover and you sit there all chattering and numb and you can't even hold a hot drink and your hands are all frozen solid and you're sitting there shaking, and then they sponge you down, you go back to the hotel, you get changed and you have a nice bath, and then you relax, have a massage and a meal, and then a couple of days later you think, hey, that was different. Well, back we go again, and back to the race as we're still waiting for our leaders to come through. Nearly, well, 2¼ hours, just over 2:20 hours of racing, and it looks now as if our leader from Kelme has been pulled back into the group here at the moment. And yes, so Perez has been caught by Moncute from the Cofidis team, and Noe from the Mappe team, who, by the way, has also taken over the pink jersey for one short, sharp day in the Tour of Italy a bit back. Might be looking now to get himself a stage next team now, and the Mappe killers looking back to what's happening, and there's a bit of a sprint left-hand side, and this could be Verbrugge then trying yet again to go, and as he comes up in the background, still Noe suddenly drops, and back there in the yellow is Zuller there, still with it. Moncuti's struggling, Zuller's start to go, Noe's dropped, here comes the king of the mountain, the yellow jersey too, and Zuller, what a man! This man is going through hell and high water. He's now looking back, I'm sure that Zuller through the murk is just ripping this thing to pieces. The Swiss from the German-speaking part of Switzerland, and let's see if he's going to make it. Well, what a day we've seen here, bringing you live on Eurosport, and that is elation. Fantastic. Moncute back second, Perez back into third. Watch on the right-hand side then as the gap then back to the yellow jersey. Not enough, I think, for the overall situation to change, but Mr. Fridge himself, Frigo, has had the fright of his life to keep that yellow jersey. Well, I've got Alex Zuller down as a stage victory today, and I'll just wait for confirmation of that one then, as I think that's Moose then from the Phonak team just coming in towards the back end. Well, the spectator on the side here, this is not often you see the applause going at the end of a race. They just like to come out, but this, I'm sure, they're giving these riders the encouragement and adulation of what they've been through today, and I'm sure you'll join me in saying chapeau to all of these riders today, a day when in reality it should have been, I suppose, cross-country skiing. Instead it's been bike racing in the Tour of Romandía. You can see now as they're going back down the hill here very quickly, as quickly as they can do. Just looking at Hunchoff and Fassa Bartolo, so he's finished up with the lead group 2 as well. That's the danger man then for the time trial tomorrow. I'm going to shut up. Just take this in. These are the domestics. These are the men who have to work. They've done the job to keep it to finish, and they're going to still ride in. I suppose the sooner you finish, the sooner you get warm. Good luck to you, lads. Yes, in fact, I just had confirmation that Evans was there. We saw two of the Mappe riders coming up here. Can you imagine that? Cadel Evans from Australia, where they don't know what snow is. In fact, no, I'm sorry, wrong. There is up at Thredbo, there's a range of mountains north of Melbourne, about 400 miles north of Melbourne, and that is Evans coming through now. Great mountain bike rider. He's won World Cups mountain biking. He's been schooled in horrible conditions, and it was him because we saw Noe go back, and Cadel Evans is coming in here now. This has got to be one of the revelations of this race. Azula stormed out round the other side of him, and Cadel then was hanging on just in there. We started this morning in ninth spot, 29 seconds down. Adrien Noe started sixth this morning, 24 seconds down. Zula was off the pace, by the way, so the 10 seconds bonus he's getting won't take him up into the top places. But I do think now that we're going to find that Evans and Noe will be nudging their way up to the overall classification when the man can finally dry out the computer and pick the whole thing up then. Alex Zula, this just shows you what he's been through today. It wasn't hell and high water, it was just snow, snow, snow and more snow. Oh, what a victory. Well, those who've been listening to Eurosport and Univa Medal too, and to my commentaries over the years, will know that I've been a long Zula supporter. His way in which he rode, by the way, when you watched him, he always looked a bit like, sort of like a heron sitting there with his long arms. And in fact, he always reminded me in his riding with his glasses too, a bit like Ray Booty, who was written up in one of the magazines recently. You might have just seen it in the Saga magazine, if somebody passed you a copy about Ray Booty. I've been in touch with him by writing, by the way, and I hope to meet up with Bold Ray. He was the first man to get inside 4 hours for a 100-mile time trial, and there's not a great similarity between the two, but there was looking about the way they rode, the way they were there with their glasses and their particular position on the bike. And I'm sure that Ray, if he's watching this today, will say well done to Alex Zula too, there under Dublin, because he has great trouble, does Alex Zula, with the rain coming down his glasses. You probably saw them. They're like the bottom of a bottle, by the way, or bottom of a beer glass, to be more precise. And you have to see that there, Honchar, by the way, you can just see back there at 46 seconds. So, well, that's probably too much. And Rupert back down 1 minute 30 seconds. So he's dropped off the pace as well now. He was up there to begin with early on, but he took a pace. And look now here at Moncute going round with Perez from Kelme, and then surviving just behind him was one of the riders, I think, from the Lotto team, or was that Cadel Evans? I don't know. It's so difficult to pick them up. But when they got further up the climb, when Zula took over. By the way, I'm just hitting over my headphones. We're going to have a repeat of What's, one of our programs, which is one from, I think, these outrageous things that happens to sports people. Well, to me, we've witnessed these last, half an hour or so, as you see there in the bottom left-hand side of your corner, slow motion view of the yellow jersey of Frigo. We witnessed, again, one of those most outrageous bits of bike racing, and you watched it live on Eurosport. So there's the overall classification. And so Frigo still up there, but there Evans is in fourth spot, behind in second spot Fernandez, Noe into third. Evans is fourth. It has changed enormously as Victor Brugger faded from the scene, but the Australian flag flying there very confidently in fourth spot. Well, I don't know what Cadel's time trialing is like, but he certainly, to me, has been one of the revelations of the year 2002 as Zula won the stage today. There he is then. Evans was driving in slow motion towards the finishing line, but this man swept by on the left-hand side of our picture, on the right-hand side as Cadel was going up there trying to get the stage victory. Alex Zula taking the honours here, and you can see the confidence there that he's got and the exhilaration. He's won, something like about 60 races in his time now, and there he is up there once again on the rostrum. World time trial champion, up there in the top 3 place on the Tour de France and the Tour of Italy. Now, right now, he's on his way back, but unfortunately, we won't see him in the Tour of France, but will we see him in the Tour of Italy? If so, then, and you're looking for some long odds down the bookies, this is one man I'd put a few bob on. So that's confirmation again, looking at the overall situation. Moose dropping a bit out the frame likewise, but Brugger dropping out there. And further back then, you can see there, Honsha, well, I don't think he pulled that 1 minute back in the time trial, as we're looking again at the situation here on the screens about that terrible day. No doubt the confidence there, you can see clearly as Zuller stamps his authority on the race today to take that victory. And behind it then on Kuti, Perez, and then by the way, if you come up here, you're going to have to bring your snowshoes, I think, otherwise you'll sink without trace. Yes, in the background you can probably hear the announcer chatting away. This isn't Daniel Manjas, by the way. This is Alex. Oh gosh, he speaks German. I'm in trouble here. Hope somebody can help me. Help!
Ja, sehr schön. Ich denke, habe die ganze Mannschaft viel gearbeitet und hatte mich gut gefühlt.
He said that the whole team worked very hard today, and I felt very good.
Wann haben Sie gewusst, dass die
So I'm very happy on the victory today.
Letzte 100 Meter, weil war Kelme.
That's the question, when do you think you could win the stage? He said only in the last few hundred meters, and the weather conditions were so bad. And then 100 meters before the finish line, I looked back and I knew I could win. He said, but now I've got to recover. You see the glasses, by the way. I said that the poor chap can't see very well. You could probably also see there the difficulty he has in the weather conditions. Now, normally as a superb time trial, the next world champion, one would expect him possibly to have a go in the time trial tomorrow, but he's way off the pan. I think he's about 7 minutes down, so he's done his little bit now, and I don't think we're going to see him doing too much tomorrow. He'll just go back and recover, get his breath back, and then we're waiting now. Yes, here he is, and this is the overall leader in the Tour of Romandía. Frigo for Tacconi Sport. Again, when we had all the information coming up before we got to the back end of the race, certainly his team were doing a great job to control the racing, and they've just put the lid on things till we got to the bottom of this climb, and then they took off. And he took off, but he had to battle all the way up because his team got blown out with the speed of the climb, but he's still able to just hang on to that jersey. In fact, some of his closest men dropped out of the frame, and now he's there still in the yellow jersey. Well, Frigo, been up there in the Tour of Italy, is going to bring you in just a week's time from now of that yellow jersey, of a pink jersey, until the raid on the Riders' hotels last year, which put him out of action. But certainly for my money, Zuller's going to be the man we've got to watch out for if he keeps this sort of form. But what an interesting race we're going to have starting in Holland next year. We're just waiting for the information, the confirmation of the King of the Mountains competition. In fact, I think it'll stay. It must be the same bloke as started out. Zampieri, surely. Yes, Zampieri just been confirmed as the rest of the riders, bedraggled ones coming in. Just one climb today, and Zampieri then keeping his King of the Mountains jersey. It's flat tomorrow. There's no way in which they're going to be climbing any mountains tomorrow, so that's one he can not only wear tomorrow in the race, but he can also take it through and back home with him when it finishes on Sunday tomorrow. So Zampieri taking that King of the Mountains jersey. He has 24 points out of that this morning. Frigo had 13 points. Well, Frigo scored a few today, but not enough to topple his teammate there. Both are riding for Tacconi Sport. So Zampieri, who is a Swiss rider then, now confident there, I think, to keep that white jersey. How appropriate then that the white jersey is the jersey for the leader on the King of the Mountains competition, because today 2 of the climbs were nullified because of the snow up there. there, so if you wanted him all white, he could have gone up there and stood there. In fact, you wouldn't see him, would you? If he'd got up in that white jersey, he could have hidden in the snow and nobody would have known he was there. Anyway, so now Zampieri can be confident tonight when he gets back down to the hotel. He can hang the jersey up in his room and say, that's mine for tomorrow. And let's hope that the weather gets better tomorrow. Certainly at Lausanne, I don't think we're going to get weather like we've seen today. Well, Merry Christmas to you all, by the way. An early Christmas card. How many days have we got shopping days left to Christmas? Maybe at least another, I don't know, 300 days or thereabouts till Christmas. But so getting ready for that wonderful time. We've got lots of sunshine ahead, I hope, in the Tour of Italy and the Tour de France, and loads of racing before the snow comes down and we get Father Christmas out there. So to the Swiss rider from the Coast team, Alex Zuller, showing fine form today to win the stage. I'm David Duffield. I'm now going to dry myself out and warm my little tender cold hands and look forward to tomorrow. Bye-bye.